All right, fans. I'm out here skiing in the forest. Skiing. Yeah, going for a little ski. But look at the trees in this forest. They're like very small, which makes me think like, in Treetops Valley, there are not a lot of big mature trees, a lot of small trees. So this was probably a forest that was disturbed. I don't know, right? The question is, how long ago? Like, actually, I know the land I'm on right here used to be farmland. So it was all cleared out for pasture land. And so, but you could see stuff is growing back. And there are not a lot of big trees, a lot of quick growing poplar trees and quick growing aspen. These are aspen. There's some paper birch trees. Those guys grow quickly. They are not quite pioneer species, but they're pioneer trees, right? So interesting. So today we're going to try to figure out how long it takes to go from destruction back to where you were before. And then I can come back and figure out probably about how long ago this place was a field. Cool.
All right.
Hey now.
Mr. Kovacs Class. It's Mr. Kovacs Class. You might learn a ton. It's Mr. Kovacs Class.
It's interesting too.
It's Mr. Kovacs Class.
And he's super cool.
It's Mr. Kovacs Class.
Treetops Valley was a story about succession. Succession means the systematic change in an environment over time, from when it's disturbed to when it stops changing. And we called it, when it stops changing, is called the climax community. So it's a series, and you know that this takes a long time. And in Treetops Valley, right, we call that secondary succession because there was a forest fire, but the soil was still there. Okay, primary succession is when there's no soil to begin with. And you have to, the only real example I can think of is like, this would be like Kilauea on the volcano on the big island of Hawaii, right? And the lava flows. Lava is just molten rock. You remember that from 6th grade. And as it cools, it hardens to basalt, igneous rock, right? It takes a long time to turn that to soil, but it can be turned to soil. How is it turned to soil? Through erosion, weathering, and the work of pioneer species like lichens and mosses. All right, so climax community is like what's supposed to be in a place, and it's the end of succession. So what we're going to do today is we're going to map out how long in Treetops Valley it took to go from disaster to get back to normal. All right, so today on your part 2, you're going to use Google Sheets to make a timeline. It shows how long it took from the forest to change. Now, when you open up this sheet, right, this is a spreadsheet, you can see I've labeled column A, year, and there's nothing under that. That's what we're going to fill in today. Column B, there are 7 scenes, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, and then in column C, what the forest looked like in those scenes. So your task today is to identify the year. And then once you identify the year, I'm going to show you how to turn that into a timeline. Okay, and then you're going to wind up importing that timeline into a, what do you call it? Slideshow next week. So let's do the year first. So if you go back to Treetops Valley, right, there's 7 scenes and only one scene doesn't mention a year. Scene 4, it says, it was 1890 and Sarah had heard that people were heading north to the Klondike. 1890, scene 4. So I'm gonna go back here to my, and there, scene 4 is this one, right? Scene 4, okay. So I'm gonna put 1890. Ding. All right, now I gotta go back to the story and do some detective work, okay? Like if you go to scene 5, it says, well, the end of scene 4 is this, the letter gave John an idea. He would take his family to see the valley. He thought, when my newborn son is old enough, we'll go berry picking. That would be fun. Newborn means it was born in 1890, right? During that scene. In scene 5, it says, for his son's 10th birthday, they saddled up and went. That means he went from newborn to being 10. I think that's 10 years. So scene 5 took place in, let's see, 1890 plus 10, 1900. All right, so you're gonna have to go through the various scenes and figure out what year things happened. Okay, so once you do that, then you'll be able to turn it into a timeline. Okay, so yeah. Here, I will fast forward ahead and show you how to do the timeline with some dummy data. All right, so welcome back, and we're gonna turn this into the spreadsheet into a timeline. So I made up some dummy data. Okay, so I put it all kind of in the future, like the fire was last year, so the future. All right, like a lot of things, what we're gonna do is you're first going to select all of the cells. See how I selected all of the cells? And then you're going to insert chart. All right, now it'll do something, right? I'll give you this weird, this chart tells us nothing. We're gonna change the setup of the chart. Okay, so I want you to come over here to chart editor in the chart setup, and you're going to pick, I think this works the best, bubble. Okay, bubble, bubble. And then you see here, you get the different bubbles. All right, and if you look at it, right, the x-axis is years. The y-axis is scenes, and then it goes from left to right. The different forests are in each bubble. All right, so I had to go back and figure out what I was doing it. All right, so you're in the setup bubble chart. Right here where it says x-axis year, y-axis scene. Where it says series, I want you to add series. You're gonna add the forest. And what that does is it makes it so each forest has a different color. All right, so it goes from large conifers to burn. But this is all a timeline. And then, I mean, it's basically done. You can change the title. Let's see, what do we want it to say? We want it to say something like Treetops Valley. Not Treetops Alley. Right? And then you have this timeline. Right? So what I do, let's see what else. In the customize, on the vertical axis, I made all the labels. I changed their color to white so that they blend in with the background. All right. And then here where it says like horizontal axis, I'll leave those the same. Vertical axis, I won't show the line. Grid lines and ticks, I'm not gonna show any of them, right? And so now that it looks less like a graph, it looks like a timeline, right? So it starts here and it gets more. You can even change like each color. So maybe I'm gonna go with green because it's a forest. So I'll make large conifers worth dark green. And then I'm gonna make burn, we'll make that blackened. I'm gonna make pioneer species, let's make them, I don't know, let's make them a very light green, right? And then we'll go up. Bushes, berry bushes, we'll make them a little bit darker green. And then deciduous trees, I'm gonna make that an even darker green. And then small conifers, I'm gonna make that a little bit darker green. Right, and then you can see on my graph now, it's more forest-like. Anyway, okay, that's how that's done. Remember, you go to, and then you can move this page to its own sheet, and you got your timeline. Pretty cool.